money's great. Money comes and goes. It's very fluid, right? There's times where, and I'm sure you can relate to this, where it's like you got plenty in the bank, and then there's times where you're just, oh my goodness, I'm stressing, right? But those relationships never fail, right? As long as you're showing up as a friend, right? As a husband, as a father, as a friend, everything else is good.
Welcome to the Impact Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Morris, and we have an amazing guest. Drew Johnstun is in the house, and he is an AI tech founder. He's got an amazing company helping small businesses. He's built massive teams, sales roles, all the things, and we're going to share some impactful moments. We're going to talk about his journey, his career, how he's helping people today, and I'm just so excited to welcome Drew to the Impact Effect Podcast.
Well, hey, thank you so much, Jim, for having me, man. It's a pleasure. I'm super excited to be here.
Man, this is going to be another amazing episode. So listen in, dial in for this one. In true Impact Effect podcast fashion, I ask every single guest, what is the most impactful moment in your life that changed everything for the future?
So for mine would be, there was a time, and not to get religious, but that's just who I am. I'm a God-loving guy. But when God spoke to me, I was in the lowest part of my life, and God spoke to me. It ended up saving my marriage, saving my family, ended up leading me to go and work for a great, wonderful guy that I worked for and still work for to this day, running the largest organization in EXP. And it was all a God thing, right? All of my connections, all of my people that I now consider friends that are, highly successful and wonderful people, and also how great my marriage is and how great my family is, it all came from that moment being at my lowest, and just praying actually to let everything go. And he got me to hold on.
Wow.
So, yeah.
About to let everything go.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on in that moment?
Oh man, that's a big, long story, but I'll make it the short version. Okay, so back in 2017, my mom, my wife had just given birth to our fourth. We have 3 girls, 1 boy, right? Just given birth to our 4th child. 3 weeks later, my mom committed suicide, right? And 4 months after that, my wife went to rehab. Okay, so I was a solo dad of 4 kids. Including a 5-month-old. And
Wow.
It was the hardest time in my life. All I can say that I did right, because I did so many things wrong, is that I held on to God and I just pushed forward and tried to be there for my kids. And it came to a point where me and my wife were going to go to a therapy session to amicably divorce, and prayed to God to just let it go, let her go, move on. And he told me, and like clear as day, a voice in my head just said, no, not yet. Don't let go. And the next day we went to that therapy session and we left on a date.
Whoa, dude, goosebumps moment for
Right?
me, man. What?
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's one of those that, in circumstances, in stories of addiction and things like that, which I know that you have a past in with your parents and whatnot, and so do I. We talked about having that commonality, that we are the outlier, right? And it was just, I'd love to say that it's me and I did all this stuff, but it's God. It was such a big thing to be able to come back from, right? That it's got to be God. Like, I got to give him the credit for it. It took a long time for us to build it back. But now we've been married 15 years, 4 kids from 8 years old to 14 years old. They're amazing. They're wonderful. And it, like I said, it brought me to work for a guy. His name is Brent Gove. He owns the largest organization in EXP Realty, and I run the top part of the organization. And so I've had the great pleasure to, meet people like Ed Milet and Gary Brecka, and just, big names and big, huge people. But what I love is that I get to have those relationships. And it's brought me to be able to be connected enough and have the confidence to go out and start my own stuff, right? And also to what I'm super excited about is just helping people, right? Like money's great. Money comes and goes. It's very fluid, right? There's times where, and I'm sure you can relate to this, where it's like you got plenty in the bank, and then there's times where you're just, oh my goodness, I'm stressing, right? But those relationships never fail, right? As long as you're showing up as a friend, right? As a husband, as a father, as a friend, everything else is good.
I have a book coming out, and I put in there a moment in my life where I was rolling change at the kitchen table to pay for diapers for my daughter, crying, right? And a
Oh, man.
mentor of mine, a relationship,
Mhm.
had said, "Why don't you just every day love on 5 people?
Mm.
5 people, the first that come to your mind, just love on them, check in on them, see what you can do." And it brought me back to when I first started doing events during the pandemic in 2020. I would ask people, the first event I had, a bunch of entrepreneurs around a table, and I led and started the event with, "What do you need right now?"
Mhm.
Right? Because in that time, I knew that I was losing my business, and a lot of other people had just put $80,000 into a new app
Right.
and no one's buying it, or the investment money isn't coming anymore, or a grant got canceled that they expected. So it literally was just a table of people asking them what they need. So when that mentor said that to me, I immediately was like, okay, well, I have the answer. I can just ask someone what they need and love on them and make a connection, or
Right.
support them, or coach them if they see fit, or I have the knowledge to help them in that specific thing that they need.
Mhm.
And 2 weeks later, 22,000 came in through my business,
Right.
and it was like, and I'm not saying that's gonna happen for everybody that
I hear you
fast, but it
though.
was like one person connected me with one person, and next thing I knew, the consulting fee comes in, and boom, here we are. I'm not rolling change. So when you're saying that about the relationships, I'm
Oh,
like, man, the people, it's so important.
oh yeah. I
Um,
so remember that stuff too. I remember selling, like when me and my wife first got married, selling every kind of thing that we used to do before having kids, selling my snowboard, selling all my gear, so, just anything that you had to pay for some diapers,
yep,
right? And it's one of those that I think that without those times though, you don't appreciate the good, right? And that's where for me, like I sit there, I learned from a guy named Ken Joslin, who I don't know if you know him as well.
I've met him, but I don't know him like a friend
He's a
would, but
great guy. He's got a faith-based mastermind that I'm a part of and love. And he taught me about doing affirmations and gratitudes. And, I do that. I try to do that every day, right? Not always am I perfect, but for the most part, so I'll start out my day with my affirmations. After I've done, I'll start and, do my Bible. Then I'll go into my affirmations, gratitudes, and my goals, so that every day I'm looking at like what I'm grateful for, right? Because sucky things happen to everyone, right?
how do you find new things to be and have gratitude for? Like, what's some examples that you might have said this past week? Or because
Mm.
a lot of people have asked me that question, and I'd love to get your opinion on it.
Honestly, what I look at is I try and sit there and look at the things that I am discouraged about, right? So I might be anxious about something or even upset about something. And I'm going to then look at that in the morning and I'm going to find something that I can be grateful for, right? If me and my wife just got into a fight, right? I'm going to be like, thank you. I'm so grateful for how, my wife's love this morning, right? Or whatever, thank you for having her being at home with our 4 kids, right? And choosing to do so, right? Or it's one of those that, let's say I just lost a client, right? A bigger client for myself. Thank you for the I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to work with that person and learn from it, right? Because I think that if we can sit there and take the things that we're upset about, we're anxious about, that we feel wronged about, and find the gratitude any way, shape, or form, any kind of angle that you can, it reframes it in our minds.
Totally, totally. I
Right?
call it move the mind, right?
There
And
you
you
go.
were talking about the money and all that, for me, when I was rolling that change, the lesson that I needed to learn was respecting money, because I would spend it
Right.
and, not on, like, terrible stuff, but, like, I just, "Oh, I'll make more tomorrow, make more tomorrow, make more tomorrow. Not a big deal, not a big," and it's like, well, no, I actually have to respect it and not over leverage investments or not buy that multifamily property and, only have 10K in the bank after, right? Like,
Right.
I'm still doing some of the right things, right? Investing in real estate, I'm a big fan of that, but to not put myself in a position where it's just, "Oh, I'll just cash another $20,000 check tomorrow," because
Mhm.
there's days where that didn't happen. There's a real estate development that never got finished and, guy's gone and I'm, $100,000 out, right? Like, those things
Ooh,
do happen.
yeah.
So I can't just position myself that everything's gonna work and everything's gonna be perfect. So
Right.
moving the mind, looking for the lessons. I love that, man. I
Right.
love finding the gratitude in some of the hardships or the tougher moments.
Right. And I always just sit there and try and look at like, okay, with my failures, because I have so many of them, right? That I can sit there and find what I learned from it, right? Because there's value to it. And it turns into a monetary value eventually, right? But everything that, I went and tried this and it failed. When I went and tried that and it failed. And I worked for free for this, I worked for free for that, right? And then until the things that do hit, right? And you got to realize that you don't get to the point of the things hitting without learning from those failures, right? Those
Totally.
failures are worth, endless. I mean, it's priceless, and it's incredibly hard to go through.
Talk to me about how you got through all those moments with your wife and your mom, and we don't need to go into the details of those topics, but, like, was that the gratitude? Like, is that when you learned that? Like, dude, that's some stuff, man. Like, you went
Yeah,
through some stuff. Obviously, is that, like, going to prayer? Is that getting around community? Like, what did
yeah,
you actually do? Because a lot of people reach out for the podcast that are
mhm,
listening today, and they share some stories,
right,
and they are navigating some transitions,
hmm,
some losses, some financial struggles, or they've tried something and it hasn't worked,
right,
right? So a lot of the messages I get are around a lot of those topics, and I
hmm,
think it would be powerful to hear how you moved through it.
yeah. You know what? I can tell you that one thing that I did right through the process, this was like a year and a half kind of ordeal.
You mean it
What
doesn't get fixed in 1 hour?
I wish, right? It's one of those that everyone wants the quick fix, and it's not.
It's work.
Yeah, there's no silver bullet. Exactly, it is work. Something that I did right is I kept taking my kids to church throughout it. Okay, so I kept myself around positive people, right? People that were pouring into me, pouring into my kids. Um, and at the time, like, you know, my I just got to give so much gratitude to God for helping me to get through it. And what it did for me is it fortified myself, my belief in myself that I can with God, I can get through anything. Right? When you went through what I went through, and stuff comes up now, it's like whatever, right? Like I went through all of that, right? And to sit there and deal with the grief and deal with it and deal with being alone and deal with um, just going broke, right? Like it was one of those that when stuff comes up now, it's not a big deal, right? I know I can get through it. I know I'm strong enough to push through. And what I tell people is that there's seasons in life, okay? And that seasons are meant to pass. It's interesting. I think it was the Ecclesiastic 3 1 through 8. I just talking about this at my discipleship group last night, where it talks all about seasons, the things come to pass. Okay. What is really hard to do is when you're going through those times, is mentally to keep yourself grateful. Okay. Because the fact is, what everyone looks at is that most people look at, like, okay, if I just had more money, everything will be okay. All right. And it's not true. It's just not true. They're like, if I was a millionaire, if I was a billionaire, I'd have no problems. I can tell you, I have great friends that are multi millionaires, decamillionaires, listed at billionaires, and they still talk to me about things that are going on, right? It's one of those where it's like, I always love when people would ask me, it's like, okay, if I were to give you $10 million, would that, tomorrow, would you take it? It's like, you're with nothing attached, sure, right? But like, oh, but your wife passes away. That was life insurance. You still taking it, right? You're like, well, no. So then the truth is that it's not actually as important to you as you just thought it was. Your relationship with your wife is worth that much. So are you putting the time and effort into that like you are in the pursuit of that 10 million?
It's powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff. The seasons, baby. It's one of those things too. And this was the visual that I got as you were saying that. It's like, what happens when the rain stops? You know it's gonna stop raining, and then what happens? The sun comes out.
Mhm.
Right? So, like, literally seasons, literally weather. I'm like, I just visioned like, because I remember, man, when I was in like high school in Boston and it rained all summer.
Mhm.
It was like some record amount. And I worked outside at the time. I was a valet. And
Okay.
I'm like, "Man, this sucks,"
You're just
I'm just
stuck in that rain.
soaked, and it's dude, like, you can't run with an umbrella to go get someone's car, you know? And would that work anyway?
Right.
No, right? So
Right.
it's like, you're soaked, dude, like, your socks, your underwear, your shoes, right? Like, you're going
Totally.
home and putting them in the dryer, and they're still wet the next day,
Right.
like, it is
Right.
miserable, and I just remember someone saying to me, it was I worked at a hospital. There's an older guy. I never knew his name, but he was like, "At some point, it will stop raining and the sun will come out."
Mm.
It still was like 20 something more days of rain after that.
Mhm.
But it was like, all right, I could see the future. This isn't consistent forever. And I
Mhm.
think in life, we get stuck on this like, man, it's raining and now it's pouring. And maybe now it's hailing and then
Mhm.
there's sleet and then it's snowing. And it's like, dude, the sun's going to come out at some point. How
Right.
do you get through? How do you get to the other side?
Well, yeah, and you know what? Talking about that too, because it's interesting. So you were valet for a hospital,
Mhm.
right? So this is a great example of being grateful through it because the fact of you being that valet, right? You're talking about how that was affecting you. I've had it where taking one of my kids who has she has issues that she deals with and her cross to bear, and I definitely have went to the children's hospital and had a valet come and get my car. And the coolest thing that you got to look at, and that I hope other people can take the time to look at in that story right there, is that you could have been a blessing to these people that they're going through so much worse, right? They're going to the hospital because they're dealing with cancer, or their child is, or they just lost someone. And you get to be that person that even though you're going through your own stuff, right? You're going through and you're soaked and you're just like, I am so miserable, but you're being of service to others, right? Just that person of being like, it was so, I didn't even realize you guys did ballet. Wait, you tell me I don't have to pay for it, right? Like this
Totally.
just included. Wait, oh my goodness. Like I was so stressed trying to get, drop off my child. Like I'm trying to get to the doctor's office and you took my car. I didn't have to worry about finding a parking spot. Like it's just that blessing to other people during their seasons, right?
So I worked in valet as a valet, then obviously moved up into management and ran the operation. And then I worked at Boston Children's Hospital. I worked at
Oh, wow.
Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Brigham and Women's,
Mm,
like all the major hospitals we ran. And I was in the healthcare field, and then I moved to the hospitality and hotels later. But I
right.
started in there. And when Dana-Farber opened, I had this gentleman, he drove a white Cadillac Eldorado. And in that moment, because I built a relationship with them, I'm like, man, everybody's coming here. They have cancer.
Mhm.
It's a cancer institute.
Right.
And he said to me, man, I really enjoyed the time we've had together. And I noticed that he said had.
Mm,
He
wow.
never came back the next day for his treatment. He died that night.
Wow.
And that's the moment where I realized, like, if I can make joy and build a relationship as a valet, not only will I make more money
Mhm.
because they'll tip you, right? And they want to tip you, right?
Of
If you
course.
create a great experience.
Of course.
But up until that point, it was all about the tips.
Mhm.
And when I started to share that story and train our teams and get more contracts and work in more hospitals and do ancillary services inside the hospital because our customer service was so good that we started doing stuff inside and we started delivering linens and mailroom and I started to open up all these programs
Mhm.
from a valet company to start to do these services inside the hotel. It was always that same story of like, we're bringing mail to a department that a doctor may need that information or get that article or get that magazine that they could now implement something to change someone's life, right? So like
Mhm.
getting the mail on time to them is important. I know it sounds like too futuristic or it's way out here, but like this is real.
For sure.
Getting someone the linen so the doctor or the nurse can wrap up a newborn baby with something clean and sterile
Mhm.
and they're not scrambling and then they take their eyes off the monitor. Who knows what could, right? Like
Mhm.
these little things that we forget about have so much impact.
Totally agree with that. It's one of
Um,
those when it comes to like the linens and everything, right? If you've ever been in the hospital, which there was a time for me, back in 2017, actually, during that hard time, I was almost died from a thing called C. diff, right? It's bacterial infection of your colon. I was sick for 2 months, went to the hospital for 5 days. If you've ever been in the hospital, just getting that warm blanket. I mean, it's just all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it feels so much better. You're miserable there. And I think it's such a great thing to really, emphasize is the gratitude of that person when you could sit there. It's a choice to look at it with gratitude or with disdain, right? If you're that person that is delivering those linens, you can either sit there and be like, I hate my life, right? I'm making no money. I'm, blah, blah, blah. Here's the sob story. Or you can look at it for that you provided that. You were the one that showed up and now that helps someone in the hospital, right?
totally.
You were the one that it was able to fulfill that and give someone the happiness just for that moment, right? And it's all just the way that you're looking at it and you're framing it, like you talked about in your mind, right?
I want to pivot to what you're doing now because you're
Mhm.
doing some AI stuff.
Yeah,
We're in this information overload age, AI everywhere. How'd you get into it? How are you helping people? Like,
yeah.
it's such a unique time to be alive with
Mhm.
AI. And I'm always inspired and curious of how did you transition? And then how are you serving and helping people today?
Yeah, so I moved here to Nashville, right? So I moved out to Nashville about 18 months ago. Okay, I always joke with people I escaped communism, known as California. Okay, it's just
In
shout out to yeah,
Canada.
just shout out to my California people. I still love you, but I'm so happy to be gone. And it's one that
Dude, what were you paying? 54% in taxes?
oh my
Like,
gosh, dude,
Jesus.
I remember it's so crazy. I remember literally the month before I left, my electricity bill was 12 or $1,300 for that month. Okay. And I moved out here to have it was for a month and a half, it was like 217, right? So I'm like, you mean that I get a 12 grand up, raise just by my electricity? And it's not one of those like I have 4 kids, so it's not one of those that, there's like we're trying to spare on using it, right?
Yeah.
It's just, vastly different, right? So when I came out here, back in California, I had a lot of help. Okay, there was assistance there, and coming out here, I had to restart my business, right? Being in real estate, I've been in real estate for 12 years. I do more commercial nowadays, but I mainly focus on my AI company. But it was one that I just looked at it and it was a calling for me. God called me to take my family out of that place, in which I did so. It was scary to move across the country, no friends, no family, just here. Okay. And
I know how that feels, dude.
yeah.
I know
And it's
exactly how that feels.
right. It takes some balls to do so. And it's scary along the way. And so when I got out here, I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily have the money to sit here and hire someone, nor do I even know like anyone. I don't have a sphere out here. Like, I guess I can go and, put out some ads to try and hire someone, but I really don't have the money for it anyway. So I started looking into, okay, how the heck is this whole AI thing? How could it actually help? Right. And with my position in EXP, I have a lot of friends all over the country, a lot of great, great agents. And I kind of like, I started getting good at it. I took a friend of mine, her course, and I ended up, focuses on beginners to intermediate. I took her course, went through it, and then found myself wanting more because I'm like, look, this beginner stuff, it's cool and all, like cool. I can make an image. Awesome. That didn't help put food on the table.
I can look like a Pokemon character.
Cool, right? Like I posted it and now it's over.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like all of a sudden people are like, you posted something from Nano Banana? Like, I now need to use you to sell my house, right? That doesn't work like that.
It's trendy too. Those things were trendy. Like you don't see them anymore anyways.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because again, it didn't actually add any true value to to you and your family.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I took it to another level and just started learning more and more and more. And I sat there and just really got obsessed with it. And then I had a bunch of my friends that kept asking me like, well, this is really cool what you're doing. Could you help me? And I'm a guy, I'm a yes man. Okay. I love helping people. I love being of service. So I kept telling yes to people. Yeah, I'll help you do this. I'll help you do that. Right. And to the point where my friends are like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, bro, I got to help my family. I got to go put some food on the table. All right. I can't help you with, anymore. And then they're like, well, Drew, I'll pay you for it. It was like light bulb went off. Like, wait, so you're saying that you'll actually pay me? I'm like, yeah, I'll pay you every month to like just make sure it continues to run and it doesn't break down. I was like, okay.
Sold
right.
to the highest bidder.
Done. Well, yeah, and then it's because there's so much stuff out there right now that people are monetizing courses, right? Where I'm going to teach you about AI, right? But all of us are busy, right? We're in real estate, we're lenders, there's plumbers, there's like all these people that AI isn't actually putting money on food on the table, right? So I saw the gap that I saw was implementation, right? I've always been one that you can't really stop me from going headfirst into something. Okay, don't get me wrong, I have hit walls head on plenty of times. Okay, but that's just who I am. I'm going for it, right? Where I kept seeing all these courses and I'm like, this is cool, but it doesn't actually help me implement it. So I had to go and learn that. Where now I'm the guy that's like, people ask me, well, can you teach me about AI? And it's like, I could teach you a little bit, but really I'm the one that you can hire to implement it. So if you need in your business, you're like, I want to grow my business. Okay, well, let's do, where are we at with reputation management? Do we have any reviews on Google? This is this crazy thing called Google, right? It's people
And you
like,
actually have to respond when someone tells you how great you are to show that you're actually like seeing it and grateful.
right. And then you actually have to list your business on Google, right? This crazy thing called the internet. It's been around for a little while. But it is kind of crazy. I joke about it, but it's crazy the amount of conversations I've had with people that they're like, I don't have a Google business page. I don't run I don't run ads. I don't have leads. And then when it comes to, then it comes to the point where people go and they get leads, right? I'm going to go and pay this other company to do leads. And they show up and you're like, okay, well, why am I not making money? It's like, you still have to make a phone call, right? It's again, well, then you have so many
Wait,
people.
I got to talk to these people to tell them what I do for them to buy what I do because I can help them at the highest capacity. Oh, wait, that starts with a conversation?
Right.
It's like, yeah, dude.
Or the craziest thing is there's a statistic out there that's crazy to me. 62% of phone calls to small businesses go unanswered, right? So one of my bread and butter that I love doing, I'm good at, is AI agents, right? So where you sit there and you go from 62% of calls are unanswered, and you have all these small businesses that are owners that are like, I'm not making enough, right? So 6 out of 10 calls you don't answer, and you're like, I don't make enough. Well, if you're like me and anyone else that you go on online, you're like, hey, I look local plumber, my toilet's overflowing, I need help, right? You go and call someone, they're not gonna sit there and be like, oh, well, we'll wait for you to return my call tomorrow. Like, no, hang up, I'm on to the next,
Yep.
right? Versus just simply putting in a AI component, an AI agent that'll answer it and be like, hey, this is Jim Morris, right? Jim Morris Plumbing, how can we help?
Yep.
Oh, you have something, we're so sorry to hear that. Okay, when would you like someone to come out? Immediately. We have opening at 2:00 today or 3:00 tomorrow. Which works better? And it literally will sit there and put you. It fills up people's calendars. Which then again, one of the hardest things is with small businesses is getting themselves out of their own way, right? Where they're
So
like,
they can do the thing that they love to do and they're best at.
exactly. And the crazy thing and the amazing thing is nowadays AI can do the rest, right? But it's not going to come from you going and signing up necessarily for a course, right? And you're like, it's from finding someone like myself and that's good at what they do, that likes serving people. It's so cool to sit there and have the stories of people where they're like, I just got 3 sales this month, right? That's 30 grand in my family's pocket. That's cool.
And that would have been missed, or it would have
100%.
you would have lost the opportunity or called them back after they already found the next person.
Mhm.
Because like those industries, it's immediate. And it's not immediate that I need you to be there in an hour. It's immediate that I need to know that the problem's solved and can understand the timeline of when it will stop causing issues, right?
Mhm.
Like water, damage, all those things. I mean, I'm like afraid of water because it's like I've seen it
Oh my
just ruin
gosh.
houses to
Seriously.
the level of like
Oh yeah.
you really have to redo everything down to like subfloor, right?
Right.
And then the floor below it or the basement, and then you got mold, and then it's like
It's tens of
it's
thousands of dollars.
horrifying. Yeah, yeah. It's like, and if you skip out and don't do it right, it's like, all right, now we're just gonna breathe in black mold forever. And when
Yeah.
my kid has lung disease in 3 years, I'm gonna feel terrible, right?
Yep.
All right, not to go down that road, but the AI component, it's so interesting. And I think it's so powerful for you to say the implementation
Right.
because, we look at the progression of AI and it's like, okay, here's prompting. Then it's like, here's gems or custom GBTs.
Mhm.
And then, now it's agents and people who aren't gonna just because there's a custom GPT with all this prior knowledge loaded to the specific niche, people still don't want to spend the time talking to it or
Of
telling it.
course.
So you need the agent to actually do the thing
Mhm. Well, and it's
and then
also
implement it in a general understanding of what the business needs in that moment.
right. Well, yeah, because if you go and get custom GPT, right? Which, by the way, now granted, Chat just dropped a new update, so now they're finally kind of competing again with Claude.
They're back.
They
They're
are.
back. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
codec, with the new implementation of Codex, right? Which is their version of like Claude Code. Okay. First off, when it comes to all this stuff that you start talking about, people usually 9 out of 10 people, this is where your eyes gloss over. Okay, like what do you even mean, right? And then you talk about custom GPTs. It's like cool. So you're gonna go and start talking about all the stuff that your business needs. Okay. Okay, so now what do you do when you sit there and it pops out, couple hundred, couple thousand characters of that you need to now read through, and even though it sits there and gives you literally step 1, step 2, step 3, and you start reading 1.5, and then you stop, and you're like, what do I do? Well, I mean, technically, what you do is you read the rest of it, and you actually start implementing. You chunk it down, okay? But 9 out of 10 aren't doing that.
Totally.
Right?
Totally, man.
So then you're like, okay, well, how do I actually have AI help me? Now granted, this may not be like this, right, forever, right? Because the advancements of AI, right? But right now, what it is that you need someone to implement for you, right? That way, what you need, like, so I always explain it to my people, my customers where it's like, okay, I want to help you to be the simple monkey where press the button, get a banana. Press the button, get a banana. I'm like, can you handle that? Well, of course, right? All I need you to do is press the button. Okay. I'll take care of everything else, which now in most cases, like most companies, it's your press the button is you're going to make a phone call, right? Even though we set up systems that, like in real estate, for example, the average follow-ups is 7 to 12 follow-ups for a conversion of a lead. Okay. The average agent follows up 1.7 times, right? So when you're like, the math isn't mathing, right? You're like, I don't know why I don't have any business. Well, because it blatantly tells you 7 to 12 follow-ups, right? And you did it once.
Yeah, you're off by
Maybe twice.
5, bro. Come on.
Right? So I'm like, okay, I can set up a system that will literally do it the other, 7 to 11 times. And all you have to do is make the final phone call where they already know your name, they know what you look like, they know what you're about, and then you're going to get a phone. You make that phone call, and they're like, "Hey, Jim, it's so nice to finally talk to you," right? Which is way different than your cold calling or whatnot, right? And then if it's a plumbing company, it's like your button that you have to push is someone showing up to the house at the scheduled time. That's it, right? AI can take care of the rest. But there's so many people that have these like fear of AI. It's gonna replace us, and what do you think is gonna take over the world, and blah blah blah, right? It's like, the people were afraid of the internet when that came out, right? People were afraid of the automobile, right, when it came out. They didn't want it. They thought it was going to ruin everything, and yet we've progressed, right? So I look at people like, hey, if it takes over the world, I don't have a crystal ball, neither do you. I'm gonna give that to God, right? But what I can do is help you right here, right now, making money for your family through through AI.
Man, whew, what an episode, brother. What an episode. Drew, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us some time and sharing your knowledge and your experiences and your impactful moments with our listeners. I really appreciate you and
Appreciate you.
grateful to spend this 45 minutes with you, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother.
Hey, I want to make a small, very simple ask, and it's free. Could you do me the biggest favor and just double check to make sure that you're subscribed to this channel? As you subscribing, it allows me to fund and continue these impactful conversations, to create positive influence and positive impact that has a lasting effect on our listeners just like you. So if you please, could you go down and subscribe to this channel or double check to make sure that you already are? I'm so grateful to have you, and thank you so much for listening to the Impact Effect Podcast.